Welcome to Power Backup's home video on getting to know the Apple Macintosh. The purpose of this video is to introduce the novice Apple user to the basic setup and operations involved in using the Macintosh. We will discuss the computer's hardware, including mouse, keyboard, and disk drives, as well as the operational software that comes with the Macintosh. In short, this video has been designed to acquaint you with your Macintosh as quickly as possible. Now, let's first open the box and remove all its contents. First, locate a single sheet of paper entitled Macintosh Packing List. As you remove these items from the box, check them against this list to ensure your system is complete. If any items are missing or damaged, contact your authorized Apple dealer as soon as possible. Set the Mac on the table with the front facing you. Now let's familiarize ourselves with the Macintosh computer. First, looking at the front of the unit, you can see the display monitor, the floppy disk drive, and if your system is equipped with a hard disk activity light. The floppy drive and hard drive are both mass storage devices capable of storing large amounts of information for later retrieval. And finally, located underneath the Apple logo is the brightness control for the screen. Now let's turn to the back of the unit and begin by discussing the connectors, starting from the left, working our way to the right. If you look closely above all the connectors, you will see what are known as icons. Icons are pictorial symbols which simply describe the function of a particular device. For example, in everyday life, an icon of this type tells us a fire extinguisher is located nearby. Apple Computer has incorporated the use of icons in their entire line of computers to make them as user-friendly as possible. The first two connectors on the rear of the Macintosh are used to connect the keyboard and mouse to the computer. They are referred to as Apple Desktop Bus Connectors and can be identified with the following icon. Now unbox your accompanying keyboard. The keyboard is an input device which allows you to enter in data into the Macintosh, such as typing a document into a word processing program. The mouse is another type of input device. It is used in conjunction with the keyboard. With the mouse, you can access programs, open documents, work in programs, and close files. The mouse can make the Macintosh incredibly easy and fun to use, especially for beginners. Both the keyboard and the mouse are considered hardware. Locate the keyboard cable which came in the same box as your keyboard. You will notice both ends of the cable have identical icons matching those found above the two Apple Desktop Bus connectors. Although there are 3 different models of the Macintosh keyboard, all connect to the computer in the same fashion. You can connect either end of the keyboard cable to either bus connector on the back of the unit. Now attach the other end of the keyboard cable to either end of the keyboard itself. You will notice that both connectors on the keyboard also have the same icons matching the ends of the cable and the bus connectors on the back of the unit. Now connect your mouse to either the remaining bus connector on the back of the unit or the remaining open connector on the keyboard. Notice again the matching icon on the end of the mouse's cable. There are several different configurations for keyboard and mouse setup. Choose the most comfortable one for you. The next connector on the back of the Macintosh is used to connect an external floppy disk drive and is denoted by the following icon. Notice how it resembles a floppy diskette. Working our way to the right, you will find a SCSI port which is used to connect an external hard disk drive or other SCSI device to the Mac. This icon illustrates an SCSI port. Next, you will notice 2 connectors which are similar in appearance to the 2 desktop bus connectors discussed earlier. The first one is identified with a printer icon and is used to connect the Macintosh to the Apple Image Writer or Apple Laser Writer printers. The second one is identified with the telephone icon and is used to connect a modem. Modems are devices which enable computers to talk to other computers through the use of phone lines. Our final connector is denoted by a speaker icon. This is simply a jack which allows you to connect an external speaker or other sound system to your Macintosh. Located directly above the connectors are the socket for your power cord and the power switch. Go ahead and plug in your power cord into the back of the unit at this time. Make sure that the on-off switch located directly to the right is in the off or down position before you plug the power cord into the wall outlet. Next, locate a small piece of plastic known as the programmer switch and attach it to the left side of the Macintosh. The programmer's switch allows for rebooting the system and simply snaps into place in the 6th and 7th grooves at the bottom left rear corner. This concludes the hardware portion of our video.
When you first turn on your Macintosh, you will notice that a picture icon of a disk will appear on the screen with a blinking question mark in the middle of it. The system is telling us that either the system's hard disk has not yet been initialized or a diskette with the system files has not been inserted into the floppy drive. Insert the Utilities diskette number 1 in the floppy drive. You will notice a happy face now appears in the middle of the screen. This tells us that a diskette with the system has been inserted into the floppy drive. In other words, the happy face tells us all is well. Once the system has loaded into the Macintosh, you will find yourself at a place referred to as the desktop. The desktop is managed by a program called the Finder, which allows you to run programs and move or erase files, among other things. Computer programs, also known as applications, are merely sequences of instructions that tell the computer what to do. Examples are word processing programs and spreadsheet programs. The work you perform in any given application is stored in files. Files, in turn, are stored in folders. Within the desktop, you can easily organize and manage all your software applications. On the right hand of the screen, you will see two icons, one representing the Utilities diskette you have just inserted, and the second representing a trash can. The trash icon is always present on the desktop. Its purpose is to dispose or erase any unwanted files or programs. And finally, take note of a line of titles appearing across the top of the screen known as the menu bar. A variety of options are available here in the File, Edit, and other menus. Let's now take some time to briefly discuss the function of the mouse. As we mentioned earlier, the mouse is an integral part of operating the Macintosh. To use the mouse, place your hand over the instrument as shown here. By moving the mouse around on a flat surface, you can manipulate the arrows shown on the screen. This arrow is known as the pointer. As you can see, the movement of the mouse is mirrored by the pointer on the screen. Make sure you have allowed enough room on the desk to maneuver your mouse. Or better yet, invest in a mouse pad which will not only provide an optimum service for working, but keep your mouse from picking up unwanted dust and debris from the tabletop. There are basically two ways to use the button positioned on top of the mouse: clicking and dragging. A click is accomplished by a quick punch of the button. Now position the pointer directly onto the trash icon. Select the item by quickly pressing down on the mouse button and immediately releasing it. Notice how the trash icon has become highlighted. Whenever you click on an item, it will become highlighted, showing you that it has been selected. You can also use the mouse button to move items around on the desktop. Click on the Utilities disk icon. The trash icon is now no longer highlighted nor selected. Go back up to the disk icon, hold down the mouse button, and move the pointer to the middle of the desktop. Notice that an outline of the disk icon moves with the pointer. This action is known as dragging. When you release the button, you position the icon at the location of the pointer on the desktop. So go ahead and release the button, thereby changing the location of the selected icon. Now repeat the process and drag it back to its original position. An icon will not go off the edge of the screen, so there's no need to worry about losing it. Now we're ready to tell the Macintosh what we would like to do. First, we must tell it what we want to work on, and then what function we would like it to perform. We can designate what we would like to work on by selecting an icon or item, as we did earlier on the desktop. And then we tell it what to do by choosing a command from a menu. In order to access the files and programs on the Utilities disk, we must open the disk. To do this, select the Utilities disk icon by positioning the pointer on it and clicking the mouse button. Notice that the icon became highlighted, indicating it has been selected. Now, move up to the menu bar at the top of the screen. Position the pointer on the word File and press the mouse button, holding it down. A list of selections called a menu appears beneath the word File. The action you just performed is known as pulling down a menu. Now, move the pointer down to the word Open. Notice how the Open selection became highlighted as the pointer passed over it. Some commands in the menu, such as Print, are dimmed. This means they cannot be accessed at this time. When you release the mouse button, you will select the Open function. The word Open flashes briefly to show you it was selected. Then you will see a window appear on the screen. Inside this window, you can see the contents of the utility disk illustrated by various icons. In this case, you see 6 folders, including a Systems folder, a hard disk backup folder, and others. Let's talk some more about Windows. So far we've seen how a window is used to display a group of icons representing the contents of a diskette. Windows serve a variety of different uses. Some provide areas where you can work, others provide tools or information. However, most windows have several features in common. To change the size of the window, position the pointer on the small area known as the size box, located in the bottom right-hand corner of the window. Press and hold down on the mouse button and drag up towards the left. Notice the dotted outline follows your dragging motion. When the outline is as small as possible, it stops moving. Release the mouse button at any point while dragging, and the window will change to the size of the outline. Also, take note that the contents of a window do not change when its size is changed. All that is affected is how much of the window you see. You can also change the size of the window by using the zoom box located in the top right-hand corner of the window. Simply click on the zoom box to quickly enlarge or reduce the size of the window. Click on the zoom box again, and it will return to its original size. To move a window, simply drag the window by its title bar, located in the top center portion of the window. Do not attempt to drag a window by the zoom box or the close box located to the left of the title bar. Position your pointer anywhere on the title bar of the utilities diskette and drag the window by holding down the mouse button and then moving the mouse. Notice again how the dotted outline of the window follows your motion. Release the mouse button when you have reached the desired location. As with icons, you cannot lose a window by dragging it off the desktop. Now, move the window to the top left corner of the desktop. Select the trash icon and open it by selecting the Open command in the File menu. A second window will appear on the desktop. When using the Macintosh, you can have several windows open on your desktop at the same time. However, the computer needs to know which window you wish to work on. The window you are working on at any particular time is known as the active window. The active window is usually the window that appears in front of the other windows on the desktop. The active windows can be identified by horizontal lines on each side of the title bar. Notice because we just opened the trash icon, it immediately appears in front with its title bar highlighted. Now, click anywhere in the Utilities diskette window and it automatically jumps to the front, becoming the active window. To work on any window appearing on the desktop, you must first click on it to make it active. Remember, the size and locations of your windows may vary from what you've seen here. Your Macintosh has responded to exactly what you've told it to do. The placement and size of your windows is left up to you. To open an icon in a window, simply select the icon as you've done before by positioning the pointer on it and clicking on the mouse button, and then choosing the Open command from the File menu. Go ahead and select the System folder in the Utilities window and open it. When you are done using a window, you may close the window, which will remove it from the screen. There are 2 ways to close a window. The first method is by selecting the window you wish to close and then choosing the Close command in the File menu. The second method is to click on the Close box in the title bar with a single click. Now, let's close the trash window by selecting it and using the Close box. Windows often cannot show all the items located in them, even if the window is made very large. In this case, you can use the vertical and horizontal scroll bars to access the items you cannot see in the window. The vertical scroll bar, located along the right edge of the window, scrolls the viewing area up and down within the window. In a similar manner, the horizontal scroll bar, located along the bottom edge of the window, scrolls the viewing area left and right within the window. Let's make the System folder window smaller so that some icons cannot be seen. Click on the scroll arrow that points down. More icons will come into view. You can also scroll by dragging the small box located in the scroll bar. Drag the box from the vertical scroll bar up to the top and release the mouse button. The horizontal scroll bar works in the same fashion. Now, let's take some time to talk about your Macintosh's disk drive configuration and hard disk initialization. Casey?
Thanks, Chris. If the Macintosh you're using is not brand new, your hard drive may have already been initialized for use. If this is the case, a hard disk icon will appear on the desktop when you power up the system. Hard disk initialization is usually performed only once in the life of a hard drive. A word of caution here, reinitializing your hard disk erases all the data stored on it. Now let's go ahead and initialize our hard disk. If your system does not include a hard disk, just listen through this section for future reference. Begin by closing the System folder window using the Close box. Next, use the vertical scroll bar and scroll down until you see the Apple HD Setup icon. Position the pointer directly over the icon and click once to select it. Then use the Open command in the File menu to open it. The Apple HD Setup dialog window appears. The right-hand portion of the window tells us we are going to initialize SCSI device number 0. All SCSI drives are assigned a drive number. The hard disk built into your Macintosh is always drive number 0. Next, position the pointer over the Initialize button on the left side of the dialog box and click the mouse button once. You will hear a soft tone telling us we are about to erase all the data on the hard disk. A message will appear on the screen giving us the option of canceling the initialization. Let's go ahead and initialize the hard disk by clicking the Init button once. You will now see a small circle rotating on the screen telling us the hard drive is now being initialized. The initialization procedure takes approximately 5 minutes. Once the hard disk has completed its initialization process, the computer will ask you to choose a name for the volume being the hard drive. Type in the name of your choice. For learning purposes, we will simply call ours hard disk. Press the return key on your keyboard after you have entered in the volume name, or click on the OK button. Notice that a small watch appears on the screen. This tells us the Macintosh is busy doing something and we should wait for it to finish. At the bottom of the window, we can see when the drive initialization has been successfully completed. If your drive has failed to initialize, perform the initialization procedure once again. If it still does not initialize correctly, contact the nearest authorized Apple Service Center. Now click on the Quit button. This will take us back to the Utilities Diskette window on the desktop. You'll notice a hard disk icon with its new name under it. The hard disk is ready to receive and store data. However, we would also like to make the hard disk a startup device. A startup device is a device such as a hard drive or floppy drive which contains the system files necessary to start the system up when you first turn on the power. Let's go ahead and close the Utilities Disk window by selecting the Close command in the File menu. Then eject the disk by selecting the Utilities Disk icon and choosing the Eject command in the File menu. Insert your System Tools diskette and open the icon after it appears on the screen. Select and drag the System folder over to the Hard Disk icon. Once you see the Hard Disk icon highlighted, release the mouse button. This action copies the System folder onto the hard disk. A small window will appear in the middle of the screen, telling us the number of files being copied. Note, the System folder was not removed from the System Tools diskette. The computer merely created a copy of the folder on the hard disk. Now move the pointer up to the menu bar and pull down the Special menu. Select the Restart command and you'll hear a soft tone telling us the Macintosh is rebooting. You will see the happy face appear on the screen as you did earlier when we first inserted a disk with the system on it. The first frame appearing on the screen says, "Welcome to the Macintosh," and is known as the startup screen. Then we quickly arrive at the desktop. Notice how the system started up much faster than before. This is because our hard disk accesses data much more quickly than our floppy drive. Now that we have formatted the hard disk, let's explore all the options available to us on the desktop.
As we discussed earlier, located across the top of your screen is a group of titles known as the Finder menu bar. Using this menu bar, you can access menus that allow you to perform all your related desktop functions, such as opening and closing windows, printing documents, and many other operations. Let us examine the various menus available. The first menu is known as the Apple menu. Position the pointer directly over the Apple icon and hold down on the mouse button, pulling down the menu. Start by choosing the first selection, called About the Finder. A window will appear in the center of the screen, providing a record of total system memory and other pertinent information about the Macintosh Finder. Use the close box to close the window and go back up to the Apple menu. This time, choose the alarm clock selection. You will see a small box with the time of day displayed in the upper right-hand corner of the desktop. For the time being, leave the clock in its current position and return to the Apple menu. Next, select the calculator. The calculator performs 4 basic mathematical functions and can be accessed from the desktop at any time and within most software applications. Put the calculator away for now and open the Chooser selection from the Apple menu. The Chooser displays the Macintosh's printer drivers. As you can see, we have not yet installed any printer drivers. Let's take some time to install our printer drivers into the system. Close the Chooser window and insert your Printing Tools diskette. Next, open the hard disk icon. Position the pointer on the title bar and drag the window up to the top left-hand corner of the screen. Now, select and open the Printing Tools diskette icon. The Apple printer drivers are now displayed in the window. Depending on which type of printer you will be using, you will install the corresponding printer driver. Let's install the ImageWriter printer driver. To do so, position the pointer over the ImageWriter icon and drag it over to the System folder icon on the hard disk. Release the mouse button when the System folder becomes highlighted. A special note should be taken here. In order to print any documents, the printer driver for the correct printer must reside in the System folder on the startup device. Now let's close our Printing Tools window and our hard disk window. Go back up to the Apple menu and once again open the Chooser selection. You will now notice that the ImageWriter icon which we just selected now appears in the upper left corner of the window. Click on this icon once. 2 icons appear to the right. The printer icon allows us to print directly to the printer without the use of Apple Talk network system, and should be highlighted if your Macintosh is the only system connected to the printer. Apple Talk is a communications hardware and software package which allows Apple computers to talk with other Apple computers and to share printers. Because we are not connected to an Apple Talk network, check to see that the printer icon is selected and not the Apple Talk icon, which is depicted by a telephone. Below you will see the words username appearing above the box with a blinking cursor. Go ahead and type in your name at this time. Finally, at the very bottom, check to see that the Apple Talk network is selected as inactive. Close the Chooser window at this time. For a more in-depth understanding of printer drivers, consult your Macintosh System Software User's Guide. Now we're ready to take a look at the Macintosh's control panel. Go back up to the Apple menu and select the control panel. The control panel allows you to set different parameters of your Macintosh's basic functions and operations. As you can see, the Macintosh icon entitled General is automatically selected when you first bring up the control panel. Let's begin with the area entitled Desktop Patterns. Here, we can choose the pattern we want for the background of the desktop. There are a total of 38 pattern choices. When you find a selection that meets your liking, move the crosshairs down and click one time on the mouse button. You will notice the desktop change to the selected pattern. Next, let's move over to the box entitled Rate of Insertion Point Blinking. An insertion point is a blinking vertical line used in many programs to signal where text is to be inserted. This feature allows you to vary the rate of blinking of the insertion point symbol in any given program, such as a word processing program. Next, let's look at the box entitled Menu Blinking. This feature allows us to select the number of times a menu selection will blink before it is executed. Move the pointer over to the right to the box entitled Time. This feature sets the Macintosh's internal clock as well as the alarm clock which we opened earlier, and which now resides in the top right corner of the desktop. You can easily set the time by placing the crosshairs on any desired digit and clicking once to highlight it. Move the crosshairs over to the right and click on either the up or down arrow to change the number. Repeat on each digit until the correct time appears, and then click on the clock icon above to initiate the correct time. Note that the correct time now appears on the alarm clock. Now that the correct time is set, you will not have to reset it. The Macintosh's internal clock will keep the correct time even when the computer is powered down. This is accomplished by an internal battery. Looking directly below the time box, you will see a box entitled 12-hour and 24-hour, which merely allows you to select the time to be displayed in standard 12-hour format or military 24-hour format. Next, set the date by using the same procedure we used to set the time. Once you have set the date correctly, click on the calendar icon to initiate the change. To the right, you will find a box entitled Speaker Volume. To set the speaker volume on the Macintosh's internal speaker, position the crosshairs over the slide bar and drag the bar to a comfortable volume setting. The last feature on the general control panel is the RAM cache. The RAM cache allows you to set aside a specified amount of the Macintosh's internal RAM memory for use with software applications which require repeated disk access. By allocating a specific amount of RAM memory for caching, a program will no longer need to continuously draw all of its information off the hard disk or floppy disk, but can store some of the information it needs in the area set aside for RAM cache, thus speeding up software applications considerably. Because RAM cache actually takes up space allotted for system memory, you generally should not set the RAM cache to exceed 1/4 of your system's total RAM memory. In this case, because our Macintosh SE has 1 megabyte or 1 million bytes of RAM memory, we should not exceed 256,000 bytes or 256 kbytes for RAM caching. Now that we have finished setting the general control panel parameters, select the keyboard icon. Two sections entitled Key Repeat Rate and Delay Until Repeat appear in the control panel area. Both settings affect the rate at which a keyboard key will repeat when it is held down for an extended period of time. The key repeat sets the rate a key press will repeat at, while the delay until repeat sets the delay between the moment when a key is depressed and the moment it begins repeating. Next, select the mouse icon of the control panel. The mouse tracking setting allows you to set the speed which the pointer or a similar icon travels across the screen. By selecting very slow, you can see how the crosshairs move at a leisurely pace on the screen. By selecting the fast setting, the mouse is more responsive, allowing the pointer to move quickly across the screen. The double-click speed setting lets you set the time allowed between 2 clicks, to be interpreted by the Macintosh as a double click. While selecting the double-click speed, the mouse to the left will illustrate the time allowed between 2 clicks. Choose the button to the left if you are a slow clicker, the button to the right if you have a quick mouse finger, and the button in the center if you're in between. Next, click on the sound icon. Here you can set the alert sound setting. Macintosh provides 4 distinctly different sounds to alert you to possible problems or cautions. Merely click on the sound you wish to use. The Macintosh will then utilize this alert sound in all programs. Next, we have the speaker volume setting, which we previously set in the general control panel. This is a duplicate setting selection, and you may leave it as is. Now, use the scroll bar to move all the way to the bottom of the window, and you will see the final selection in the control panel, the startup device. Click once on the startup diskette icon, and you will see a hard disk icon appear. The startup device selection allows you to choose the device the Macintosh will start up from when it is initially turned on. As we can see, the hard disk has been selected. This feature can be most beneficial when installing a second hard drive. For example, if you wish to have your Macintosh start up from a second external hard drive when powering up, you would merely choose the external hard drive as the startup device. If your Macintosh does not have a hard disk, it will automatically look to the floppy drive as its startup device. This concludes the Control Panel parameter settings. Close the Control Panel window. Go back up to the Apple menu and select Find File. Often, over the course of time, your hard drive and floppy diskettes will accumulate large numbers of files, and finding a particular file can be a time-consuming task. Find File is a program which enables you to quickly search your hard drive or floppy disk for a specific file. For example, say we would like to find a file named ImageWriter on the hard disk. Remember, ImageWriter was a file we copied earlier from the Printing Tools diskette onto the hard drive. Just type in the word ImageWriter and press the return key. Once the search has been completed, the Macintosh will inform you with the alert sound you chose earlier. If the file you were looking for was found, the name of the file will appear in the window. Clicking here once will display information about this file in the areas below. To the right, the name of the folder in which the file resides will appear. In this case, Find File tells us the ImageWriter file resides in the Systems folder in our hard disk. In the left-hand box, other information is shown, such as the size of the file, the date and time the file was created, and which device the file resides in. Close the Find File window and go back up to the Apple menu, and this time select Keycaps. With the Keycaps window, you can preview all the fonts available to you on your Macintosh. Type in any line of text using either your keyboard or by clicking on the keys shown on the screen with the pointer. We'll type in, "The Macintosh makes computing easy." Now go up to the Keycaps pull-down menu and select the font you would like to preview. Notice how the phrase we typed in changes its style with each new font selection. After you have viewed each font, close the Keycaps window. Finally, the last selection in the Apple menu is the Scrapbook. The Scrapbook allows you to store text and images and retrieve them for later use in applications such as MacWrite, MacDraw, or PageMaker programs. Open the Scrapbook and use the scroll bar at the bottom of the window to preview graphics and text which Apple has provided for you. You can cut, copy, or paste any of these images into any of your documents. Now close the Scrapbook window. All the features we have discussed thus far in the Apple menu are available in almost any program or application. Now let's move on to the File menu. Move your pointer onto the hard disk icon and select it by clicking once on the mouse button. Now go to the File pull-down menu and select Open. You'll notice that the hard disk window now appears on the desktop, displaying all the files present on the hard disk. At this point, your hard disk contains only the System File folder. Go back up to the File menu, but this time select New Folder. A highlighted empty folder icon now appears in your hard disk window. You may give a folder any name you wish, up to 30 characters long. However, the name of the folder should represent the contents you choose to store in it, making your files and programs easier to keep track of. Go ahead and name this folder by simply typing in Folder 1 on your keyboard and pressing the return key. Move the pointer up to the File menu and select Open. You will notice that a window named Folder 1 now appears on the desktop on top of our hard disk window. Take note of the information displayed at the top of the window. Beginning from left to right, we see that there are 0 items stored in Folder 1. The amount of space used on our hard disk is 661 kbytes. And finally, the space available for use on the disk is 18,510 kbytes. Once again, go back up to the File pull-down menu and this time select Close. This command simply closes a selected file or folder. Notice that the Folder 1 window has been closed, but is still selected. At this point, go back up to the File menu and select Get Info. A window appears on the screen entitled Info, which provides us with information on the selected item, in this case, Folder 1. Here, we see the information pertaining to Folder 1. There is also a box at the bottom of the window where you can enter in any notes or other information. Let's go ahead and type in, "This is my first folder." Now, let's close the Info window. The Get Info feature can be extremely useful in providing the user with helpful information about any file, folder, hard disk, or floppy disk. For example, with this feature, you can easily check to see when your system folder was last updated or modified. With Folder 1 still selected, go back up to the File pull-down menu and select Duplicate. Duplicate simply duplicates the item selected. You can now see an icon entitled Copy of Folder 1 residing in our hard disk window. If there had been files or other items in our folder, those also would have been duplicated. Notice that the actual file name was not duplicated. The copy was named Copy of Folder 1. The Finder will not allow you to have duplicate file names within the same folder or window. You may, however, change the names of folders or files. Position the pointer over the text of the Copy of Folder 1 icon. Notice that when you move the pointer over the icon's name, the arrow changes into a small vertical line known as the I-beam pointer. Position the I-beam pointer directly to the right of the number 1 and click the mouse button once. A blinking vertical line known as the insertion point will appear, indicating where the text you type will be inserted. You can insert text by typing what you want to add, or delete text using the backspace or delete key. You can also replace text by positioning the I-beam at the beginning or end of the text you wish to replace and dragging through it by holding down the mouse button. Release the mouse button when the text you wish to replace has been highlighted. Pressing either the delete or backspace key or directly typing in new text will delete the selection. Go ahead and type in Folder 2 and press the return key. Now, drag our newly named Folder 2 off the hard disk window and onto the desktop. Remember, dragging is accomplished by pointing at a selected item and holding down the mouse button while moving the mouse. Once again, go back up to the File menu, and this time select Put Away. This command simply puts a selected icon back into the window it originated from. This command is dimmed when no items are selected on the desktop. The next command in the File menu is Page Setup. Go ahead and select Page Setup. A window appears where you can set up the page size, orientation, and other options for directories that you wish to print using the Print Directory command. This page setup applies only to documents you print from the Finder. The page setups of other documents are controlled by the page setup commands within their particular applications. Close the page setup window by clicking the pointer on the word OK. Now, select the Print Directory command. This selection enables you to print the actual contents of the Active Directory window, in this case, our hard disk window. What you see on the screen actually gets printed: icons, folders, document names, and so on, but not the documents themselves. If you have a printer connected to your Macintosh, go ahead and click on the OK selection. If not, close the Print Directory window by selecting Cancel. Finally, the last command in the File menu is Eject. The Eject command simply ejects the selected disk from the floppy drive. If a disk has not been selected on the desktop, the Finder will look for an inserted disk to eject. After a disk has been ejected, its icon will always be dimmed on the desktop, indicating that it is no longer available. Next, let's discuss the Edit pull-down menu. The Edit menu enables you to edit names of documents, applications, folders, and disks. It also allows you to edit the information box on an item which has been selected with the Get Info command from the File pull-down menu, and you can also edit text or graphics in some programs. Remember, the Edit menu functions do not apply to icons. To duplicate icons, you have to use the Duplicate command we discussed earlier in the File menu. First, insert the System Tools diskette into your floppy drive and open the System Tools disk icon. Here, you will find a folder entitled Teach Text. Open the Teach Text folder and type in, "This is my first Macintosh." Now, place the I-beam at the end of the sentence next to the insertion point, and while holding down the mouse button, drag the I-beam over the word Macintosh until it is highlighted. Release the mouse button just in front of the letter M. Now, pull down the Edit menu and select the Cut command. You will notice the word Macintosh has disappeared from the screen. Now, select the Show Clipboard command from the Edit menu. You will see the word Macintosh residing in the clipboard window. Any text or graphics which are cut or copied from the desktop or an application program will be automatically stored in the clipboard. The clipboard is merely a temporary storage area. A word of caution, any items that are left in the clipboard when the system is shut down or restarted will be lost. Close the clipboard window by clicking the mouse button on the Close box. Now, go back to the Edit pull-down menu and select the Paste command. You will now see the word Macintosh reappear. Again, place the I-beam at the end of the sentence and drag to the left until the words First Macintosh are selected. Go up to the Edit menu and select the Copy command. This time, you will notice the selected words did not disappear as they did when we used the Cut command. The Copy command simply copies the selected text or graphics directly to the clipboard. Now, reopen the clipboard and you will see a duplicate of the selected text. Close the clipboard. Keep in mind that any time an item is cut or copied to the clipboard, it replaces the item previously residing there. You can also use the Paste command, which puts a copy of whatever is in the clipboard at the insertion point. Once again, position the I-beam at the end of the sentence and click once. Then press the Return key. The insertion point will move down to the next line. Now, go up to the Edit menu and select Paste. The copy is then duplicated at the insertion point. The Clear command is similar to the Cut command, except it deletes selected material without placing it on the clipboard. At this point, let's exit the Teach Text program by selecting the Quit command from the File menu. Whenever you quit or close a program, a window such as this often appears. You will then have to decide if you want to save the changes you have made by clicking the Yes button, or disregard all changes by clicking on the No button. Here, we have no need to save these changes to the file, so go ahead and click on the No button. Now that we're back on the desktop, choose the Select All from the Edit menu. The Select All command simply selects all icons in the active window. Finally, to demonstrate the Undo command, first select the System folder by clicking on it, and then choose the Cut command from the Edit menu. Finally, to demonstrate the Undo command, first select the System folder by clicking anywhere in the System Tools window, and then clicking on the System folder icon. Now, choose the Cut command from the Edit menu, and the System folder's name will disappear. Now, to undo this action, simply select the Undo command from the Edit menu. The System folder's name reappears. The Undo command undoes your last text editing command in most software applications and desktop accessories that use text. The next pull-down menu on the Finder menu bar is the View menu, which allows you to arrange the contents of your directories in 6 different fashions. Selecting a new arrangement will only affect the current active window. To arrange a folder window, you must first open the desired folder and then choose a setting. Afterwards, anytime you open that folder, it will display the contents of the window in the setting you previously selected. When Small Icon is selected, the icons are small and their titles are displayed to the right. Selecting By Icon will make icons larger, with their titles appearing directly underneath. Up to this point, we have had the windows displaying their directories with this setting. Using the By Name setting displays the contents in alphabetical order and shows the size and kind of each item, and the date and time the item was created or last modified. The By Date setting displays the contents in the same fashion as By Name setting, but lists the files chronologically by the date each file was last modified. Selecting the By Size setting will display the contents in order of size, with the largest file listed at the top and the smallest at the bottom. This setting is especially helpful for seeing which files are actually taking up a lot of space on your hard disk or floppy disk. The final selection, By Kind, separates the contents of the active window into files, folders, and application programs. The final pull-down menu we will demonstrate is the Special menu. The first selection, entitled Cleanup Window, will only work if your window is displaying its contents by Small Icon or By Icon. All other settings in the View menu are not affected. Let's move some of the icons in our window around. Click in any blank space in the window so that no icons are selected. Now, select the Cleanup Window command from the Special menu. You will notice that the icons arrange themselves neatly into place. Once again, pull down the Special menu. As you can see, the Empty Trash command is dimmed. This means the trash folder is empty. Select the hard disk window, and let's drag folder 1 into the trash can and see what happens. When the trash icon becomes highlighted, release the mouse button. Notice the trash now appears full, telling us that it now holds a file or folder. The purpose of the trash is to dispose of unwanted files and folders. If you make a mistake and would like to retrieve the contents of the trash, select the trash icon and choose the Open function from the File menu. This will open a window entitled Trash. You can now see the contents of the trash. To retrieve a file or folder from the trash, merely select the item and drag it up to an open window or diskette. However, if the item you put in the trash originally resided on a floppy diskette and the diskette is ejected, the item will automatically be erased. If there are files or folders in the trash, selecting the Empty Trash command in the Special menu will erase them from the disk. The Erase Disk command allows you to erase a floppy disk and reinitialize it in one of two formats, one-sided or two-sided. If you have selected this command by mistake, select Cancel and the operation will abort. Next, the Set Startup selection allows you to turn on and off the Multi-Finder. With the Finder on, you can select a single application, such as a word processing program, and have it automatically open up when power is first applied. With Multi-Finder on, you can open multiple applications and documents on startup. Consult your Macintosh User's Guide for a detailed description. Next, the Restart command not only restarts the Mac, but first saves all data and information you are currently working on, empties the trash, and then ejects all inserted diskettes. The final menu selection we will demonstrate is the Shutdown command. The Shutdown command ejects any inserted disk, first saving the data, then emptying the trash, and finally informs you that you may now shut off your Macintosh safely. Turning the power off without using the Shutdown command is not recommended. This concludes the introduction to your Macintosh's desktop. Now, here's Casey to show you a few quick and easy shortcuts to help your work with your new computer.
Thanks, Chris. As you become more familiar with your Macintosh, you'll begin to discover shortcuts. These shortcuts are quick, alternative ways to perform commands and functions. Before I demonstrate a few shortcuts, let's insert a blank diskette into our floppy drive. As you can see, The diskette is new and has not yet been initialized. Go ahead and click on the two-sided selection, which allows for more storage space on the diskette. Now go ahead and select Erase to initialize the diskette, then type in a name for the disk and click on the OK button or hit the Return key. You know how to copy a file onto another disk by dragging the selection over and releasing it, but you can also copy more than one file at a time, as shown here. Simply place the pointer on a spot just off the group of icons you wish to copy. Press down on the mouse button and begin dragging. Notice the dotted shape of a rectangle. Continue to drag until all items you wish to copy are enclosed in the rectangle. Release the mouse button and all the items inside this area will become highlighted. Now position the pointer over any one of the selected items and drag it over to the floppy disk icon. The entire group follows. When the floppy disk icon becomes highlighted, release the mouse button and all the selected items will be copied over to the diskette. You can also individually select a group of icons. Hold down the Shift key and click on the icons one at a time. Groups of icons can be moved and copied together in the same fashion. As we've seen, pull-down menus are a primary feature of the Macintosh. Pull down the File menu. To the right of most selections, you can see Command key shortcuts. Using these keyboard equivalents, you can access commands found in menus directly from your keyboard without having to access the menu itself. For example, if we wanted to create a new folder, all we would have to do is hold down the snowflake key located at the bottom left of the keyboard and press the N key. Try this now and a new folder will appear on the desktop. The last shortcut we will discuss is known as double-clicking. You now know that when you want to open a file or application, you can access the Open command in the File menu, or use its alternative keystroke command, Snowflake O. However, you can open the selection even faster by double-clicking on it. Double-clicking is accomplished by placing the pointer on an icon and clicking 2 times in quick succession on the mouse button. Open the System folder icon using this method. This concludes the shortcut portion of our video. We hope you have found the Getting to Know the Apple Macintosh video helpful in the everyday use of your Mac.
Remember, if you have any questions, consult your owner's manual.